Ah, fantastic. Yes. Thank you for the opportunity to have this presentation. Would like to start with some facts about the COVID. Cyprus currently is in the amber category, which means that visitors from the UK have to present PCR test on their arrival. The PCR test is not necessary for people who have been vaccinated. So those who have been vaccinated can enter only with the NHS app proof that they have been vaccinated. Of course, coming back to the UK, it will be subject to the UK status, which means that they have to do their PCR tests again when they come back. We are hoping that Cyprus will be soon in the green category, which means that no PCR tests will be necessary, or that there will be a concession for the vaccinated again, that that they can come back and avoid the quarantine. In Cyprus, the COVID situation is being handled quite well. We have, lately about 200 new cases a day and no deaths at all. So, and the people can, everything is open, the hotels, the restaurants. Inside some spaces you have to wear a mask. But outside the mask is not necessary. Yes, so this is the situation. We hope that it will improve and that, as I said in the beginning, that Cyprus will be placed in the green category soon, sometime in July, perhaps. Right, to start with the presentation, this is, of course, the map of Cyprus. You know that Cyprus is situated between Asia, Africa, and Europe, the eastern side of Mediterranean. We have about 850,000 inhabitants. And there is, of course, the resorts of, as you know, Paphos, Ayia, Napa, Protaras, Larnaca, and Limassol mainly, but also the Troodos Mountains region. The two airports are situated in Larnaca and Paphos. And just some statistics before the COVID situation. In 2019, we had 4 million visitors to Cyprus, out of which 1.5 million were from the UK. So UK is by far our most important market. Yes, we can go to the next slide, please. Yes, so this is some of the average temperatures by month. You see here the heading, we say it's we have 340 days of sunshine, might be even more. You see now in July, the average temperature is 91 degrees Fahrenheit or 33 Celsius. Yeah, then it gets more or less the same for August and September, and then gradually starts to go a bit lower. But you will see also that even in January, we still have like 16 degrees Celsius in the daytime. Yes, we can go to the next slide, please. Right. So, I wanted to mention that obviously Cyprus is not only the beach and the sea and the sun. It's also a lot of other interesting locations, like this little village here that you see. Next slide, please. And of course, I mentioned before the Troodos Mountains. This is one, just one photo of the region there. And of course, you're probably familiar with the little castle at Paphos Harbor. And yeah, next slide, please. And of course, not to ignore the beautiful beaches in all parts of Cyprus. Some interesting buildings. This one is the library building in Limassol, for instance. Next slide, please. This is still in Limassol. This is one of the ancient amphitheaters, the Curium. It's just about 5 to 7 miles outside Limassol, and it's still being used today for concerts and recitals. It's just fantastic to sit there and watch a concert, and then you have the sea on the side there. And this is again an image from the mountains. It's one of the many water dams we have in Cyprus. That has been used also for some other activities like fishing and canoeing and things like that. This is a photo of an old church. They've got 10 such churches in Cyprus that are all protected in the UNESCO World Heritage, and they are fantastic. They are from the 9th to the 13th century AD, and they have fantastic Byzantine frescoes inside. This is just to talk a bit about the beaches. This year we've been awarded 68 blue flag beaches in Cyprus, which is the most in Europe, in islands in Europe, and also, of course, this is another photo of a beach. And officially, the bathing waters have been also been proven to be the cleanest in the Mediterranean around Cyprus. This is just again to show the scuba diving. Of course, we have in Cyprus a very famous wreck, which is the Zenobia, which is just outside Larnaca, about 8 to 10 miles from the harbor of Larnaca, and it's considered as one of the 10 best wrecks in the world. Yeah, a lot of history, of course, and archaeology. This is the famous Tombs of the Kings, just next to the harbor of Paphos. One of the many castles. This is the Colossi Castle outside Limassol. And yeah, this is part of the archaeological park, which is in Paphos again, with the mosaics, and also next to the Tomb of the Kings as well. A lot of events the whole year around, festivals and events like these, and carnivals, and many recitals, and everything can be held outdoor the whole year, you can see. And yeah, a few slides about the Cyprus food. Of course, you are familiar with the meze, where you get to sample a lot of different dishes, famous halloumi and sheftalies, yeah, among other things. Yeah, again, sheftalies here with some pita bread, and yeah, some sweets, lukumades. This is like sweet dough balls with honey and ice cream. A lot of boutique wineries now, the last years in Cyprus, with making some interesting wines, combining some local varieties with some imported varieties. And yeah, just to talk a little bit about each region separately, this is of course Paphos with the famous Aphrodite's Rock, and the harbor that we mentioned before, and the archaeological park with the mosaics in the tombs of the kings. A lot of history in Paphos, and also some beautiful beaches like Coral Beach, etc. This is also another photo from Paphos. Next slide, please. Some images from Limassol. This is the new marina that opened a couple of years ago. You can see a lot of big yachts, and on the right-hand side is the seafront in Limassol, which is also quite famous. And Limassol being a big town, of course, with about 150,000 people, it has a lot of nightlife, a lot of shops, and also some nice beaches and some nice hotels, of course. And this is also Limassol. And we go on to the next slide, which is should be Larnaca. Larnaca is also has a very interesting promenade. It's called Finigudos because of all the little palm trees that are there, and famous Church of St. Lazarus in the middle of Larnaca. An old Roman aqueduct you can see on the bottom right of the photo. And of course, the salt lake with a lot of flamingos, usually in autumn and spring. You can see them. Then we've got Ayia, Napa and Protaras, of course, mostly famous for their beautiful beaches, and yeah, the nightlife, of course. Nightlife, a lot of intensive nightlife in the center, but obviously also very nice hotels a bit on the outskirts that are quiet, and they cater for all for families and older families and couples. And this is another little church from the Protaras area called Ayia, cent 40 cents something. Yes. And Nicosia, of course, is the capital. It's of course it's not near the sea, but it's a very interesting city. It's the only divided city in Europe, and it's got a lot of museums and galleries, and of course some beautiful restaurants. And the old part of Nicosia is also very interesting. This is one of the old schools in the center of Nicosia. Next slide, please. And we finish with the Trudels region, which is for me a very beautiful area. I realize that a lot of people, they want to spend their holiday by the beach, but I think it's worth it to to take a day trip or even to stay overnight in one of the resorts in the mountains with the beautiful the Byzantine churches that I mentioned, a lot of wonderful nature, tavernas, little villages with very friendly and hospitable people that will invite you in for a coffee, and yeah, very nice region. Nice bridges here. Yeah. And yeah, of course, many things to do, including, of course, spa and golf and all sports, outdoor sports like, you know, these action sports, of course, and diving, as I mentioned. A lot of weddings in Cyprus. We get about 4,000 weddings from the UK every year. Okay, not the last 2 years, but normally. It works out much cheaper, of course, to get married in Cyprus than you know, elsewhere. And finally, this is, yeah, some of parts of the old part of Nicosia that I mentioned before. And the sports, yeah, of course, tennis. A lot of teams come to Cyprus for training, for winter training, because of the climate. One of the 4 golf courses that we have, they are all in Paphos region, so somebody can actually play all 4 in 4 days or 1 week. And some new exciting projects like the casino that is being built between Limassol and Paphos, which is going to be one of the largest in Europe. And the new observatory in Trudels Mountains. And that's it. Love Cyprus. I hope that we can all go there soon. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was a whistle-stop tour of so much to see. I don't know how it's happened, but I've never had the opportunity to go to Cyprus.
Well, thank you very much, Melissa, and all the team at Charitable Travel. It's great to be supporting you and to be part of this Mediterranean month. And thank you very much to Costa, and a great presentation on Cyprus as well. So here we go. What I'll try and do is, those of you that haven't been to Gibraltar before, we'll do a bit of a whistle-stop tour, as Melissa described it, of our destination. And the ones that are familiar and have been to Gibraltar before, hopefully this presentation will refresh some of the elements, and there might be some stuff that you might not be familiar with and you might not have seen before. So without further ado, next slide, please. So here we are. This is where Gibraltar is. Just to remind you, or just to let you know where we are, right down there, and the southern tip of the Iberian Peninsula. And there we are, as you can see, a shard of rock that juts out into the Mediterranean, pointing towards the coast of Morocco, surrounded by the Mediterranean Sea, and joined by an isthmus that a narrow piece of land that joins us to Spain. And as you can see, that isthmus is now our runway. And then you've got the border just at the other side of the runway. And when the planes land, the barriers go down. And then when they come to a standstill, then the barriers open and you make your way into Gibraltar. So very compact, but absolutely full of things to see and to do. And as you can see, the top half of the rock is very green, and that's we know that as the upper rock. And then the town of Gibraltar just below, and the beaches, etc. As you make your way around the rock. There we have it, Gibraltar in a nutshell. Next slide, please. So you'll all be very, very familiar with some of the more well-known facts about Gibraltar. The monkeys, the Barbary macaques, and this is one of our members of staff making their commuting to work in the morning. And next slide, please. St. Michael's Cave, absolutely tremendous natural cave. We'll get on to some of the developments that have been taking place there, and the sound quality in there is absolutely amazing, and that's why it's one of our leading venues for concerts and presentations and things like that. Next slide, please. And of course, Main Street, the shopping. There's no VAT in Gibraltar. Great value for luxury goods, watches, jewellery. As the shop will say there, you can see there, perfume, cosmetics, white goods, electrical goods, and cigarettes and alcohol. And because there's no VAT, it is extremely good value. And it's sterling, of course. I will mention that a couple of times as we go along. So those are kind of some of the more sort of well-known aspects about that Gibraltar is very well known for. So, but what we'll do is dig and scratch the surface and see what else that there is. Next slide, please. So we'll go through some of our tourism products just to refresh your memory. Next slide, please. And here we have the Mediterranean steps. They lead from the town of Gibraltar down below, all the way up to Upper Rock, that take you right up to the rock, to the top of the rock. You can get the cable car up and walk back down, or you can walk up and down. It takes, I think, to walk up and back down again, it'll take about an hour and a half at a leisurely pace. But what you will see from there are absolutely stunning views. And you know, people jog up and jog back down again. I don't think I'd attempt it myself. Certainly not after a hearty lunch in Gibraltar in some of the many restaurants. But it is really, really great way of exploring the Upper Rock and enjoying the walk up to the top of the rock or back down again. Next slide, please. And we'll have a short video. Thank you. I hope you got the sound on that. Did you get the sound on that, Melissa?
I did.
Excellent. So, yeah, you would have seen from some of those images, it's all about making your way to the top of a rock, the thrill seeker trails that we've got, and obviously the views that you get, the 360-degree panoramic views that you get, are unparalleled really, and one of the few places on earth where you see two continents and three countries all within a short distance, with obviously Spain, British territory, and Morocco just across the Straits of Gibraltar, and obviously the Europe and Africa. So just fascinating, and you know, as I said, when you make your way to the top of the rock, the absolute stunning views that you get from there are unparalleled. Here we see the Skywalk, again, part of our thrill seeker experience. And it's a viewing platform. It was opened by Mark Hamill from Star Wars fame. And it's a glass floor viewing platform. And when you look through your legs and your feet, there's a massive drop to the beach below. So a great viewing platform there. Next slide, please. I mentioned earlier, if you don't want to walk up to the top of the rock, you've got the cable car. It runs every few minutes. I think the journey time is about 3 minutes to get to the top of the rock. Once you're at the top of the rock, there's the Upper Rock cable car station that's about to be redeveloped. I don't have any pictures right now, but watch this space, because there's already a really good restaurant, and they do absolutely amazing cocktails, and the views up there are absolutely stunning. But there's also a traditional gift shop and cafe, and other viewing platforms as well. And you get a lot of the monkeys that hang out up there. So some really good photo opportunities as well. Next slide, please. The Windsor Bridge, that is again not for the faint-hearted. You can only walk across it, and it stretches across that valley, that canyon, and again with absolutely stunning views over the bay. Next slide, please. And of course, you've got our dolphin safaris, our boat trips. We've got 3 types of dolphins in the waters surrounding Gibraltar. That's the common, the striped, and the bottlenose dolphins. I've been told that people have seen turtles and whales as well. I haven't seen any yet, but every time I've gone out on a dolphin safari, I've never been disappointed, because you always come back having seen dolphins, and they come get really close to the boat and they swim under the boat, and I can never get tired of it, and it's just amazing. And it's a great few hours out, and the views again, because you're making your way around the Rock of Gibraltar, are absolutely stunning. Next slide, please. I mentioned St Michael's Cave, and here you see that it is also a concert venue because of the acoustics, but again, the rock formations, very much a living cave, and the rock formations continued with the stalagmites and stalactites, and they continue to form. Next slide, please. And then you've got the lower St Michael's Cave, and if you can just about make him out, there's one of the tour guides there with a hard hat. You can book a tour, and you can explore the lower St Michael's Cave. And again, it's well lit and very dramatic, and a great experience. Next slide, please. And of course, you've got the history of the rock. going back to the early 1700s. Here you see the great siege tunnels that were dug to defend the rock against the invading French and Spanish forces that tried to retake possession of Gibraltar. And these were near enough dug by hand because of the lack of equipment and technology that the forces had at the time. And they obviously did a good job because it remained and to this day in British hands. Next slide, please. Next slide. The Alameda Gardens, a great respite. It's in town, and it's a great park, and great respite from the intense heat that you would get during the summer months, with some nice shaded areas. You also got the wildlife park. Next slide, please, where a lot of protected species are either rescued from illegal shipping that's making their way through the Straits of Gibraltar. Obviously, the Straits of Gibraltar's gateway between the Atlantic and the Mediterranean and vice versa, making their way through from the Atlantic into the Mediterranean, and then the shipping lanes then continue to the Suez Canal. So really busy shipping lane, and unfortunately there's some illegal animal shipping. So the animals are rescued, they're brought to a wildlife sanctuary, and you can visit them, and you always get new animals, and there's a lot of endangered species. So again, some nice fun, and that's in Alameda Gardens. Next slide, please. Relatively new, we've got the e-bikes. You can either hire them and do a tour by yourself, or you can do a guided tour, and the guided tour will take you all around the rock. We'll do some commentary about highlighting all the highlights of Gibraltar, and eventually when the restrictions start easing, you can then the organizer will also be doing tours into Spain and the surrounding areas. So it's a great way of discovering without having to pedal too hard to the top of the rock, the whole of Gibraltar, and whilst being outside. You got the stand-up paddleboarding as well. Again, great fun, some great tuitions, and open to everyone to do. And you can learn to paddleboard on one of our beaches. So again, some good outdoor fun for the family. Next slide, please. This is more my type of fun. This is craft gin distillery, quite unique, and it's really delicious gin that it uses the campion seeds of the campion plant that is unique to Gibraltar to brew their the spirit of the rock gin. And Peter, the owner, will give you a tour of the distillery, explain the history that goes way back to 1704 when the British and Dutch forces initially took possession of Gibraltar, and gin originating from Holland. The forces were emboldened by a shot of gin, and the saying "Dutch courage" comes from them. Next slide, please. This is relatively new as well. We're hoping that this will be opening before the end of the year. It's our wine vaults with some really expensive wines, private collections of wines, but they'll also be doing wine tastings, and there'll be some catering there as well. So quite interesting development there. Next slide, please. And this will be a short film about what's happening at St. Michael's Cave. Just to say, the awakening of St. Michael's Cave, it's a new development as an attraction that's going to be opening soon, if it hasn't already opened, in St. Michael's Cave, and it's described as an immersive light and sound experience. I can't really tell you much more than that. It's very exciting. It's the tech that's gone into it is the people that work at Pixar and Disney and stuff like that. All very exciting. It's opening. So again, watch this space, and I'm sure there'll be lots of chat about it further down the pipeline. This will give you a bit of a reminder on how easy it is to get to Gibraltar. Next slide, please. So London City Airport with BA City Flyer, that's a new service that's just started this year. You've also got Gatwick Airport with EasyJet, Heathrow, British Airways, Luton Airport with Wizz, that's a new service. Birmingham, that's a new service as well with Eastern Airways. Bristol, EasyJet, Edinburgh, relatively new service. They did announce it a couple of years back, but we know what's happened, but now it's started to operate. Manchester, EasyJet, and Southampton with Eastern Airways. So I don't think we've ever had such a rich and comprehensive schedule of flights than what we've got now. And as you know, it's only 2 hours and 45 minutes to get to Gibraltar. So a little bit about the requirements to get into to Gibraltar. As you know, it's on the green list. I won't go into too much detail here because things change quite rapidly. So the only thing I could really say is advise you to either speak to Charitable Travel, that will have the latest information to hand, or to visit our website, visitgibraltar.gi, and from there you'll see a tab on all the information that you need to get into Gibraltar and what the requirements are, etc. Next slide, please. We'll skip quickly through our hotels. We've got 6 hotels in Gibraltar. Fantastic Elliott with a rooftop swimming pool. Next one. 4-star in town. The 5-star Sunborn Yacht Hotel, permanently moored 5-star yacht that's purpose built as a hotel. The Rock, the iconic Rock Hotel with stunning views over the bay. Also 4-star. The Bristol Hotel, great 2-star hotel in town and just around the corner from Main Street. And last but not least, Holiday Inn Express, that's just across the runway, and again very accessible to pretty much everywhere in Gibraltar. Next slide. Oh, of course, the Coletta Hotel. Again, they're spending a huge amount of money redeveloping and adding a whole wing and all sorts of stuff. But obviously on the Catalan Bay beach and beautiful views there overlooking the Mediterranean. Next slide, please. So a couple of key points just to reiterate again. A pound is worth a pound. It's sterling zone, so no exchange rate, and just makes it very, very easy. The British pound is legal tender in Gibraltar. Next slide. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed what you saw about Gibraltar, and I hope I enlightened you in some aspects to what Gibraltar's all about. And thank you very much.
You absolutely did. Again, as I confessed earlier on, I haven't been to Gibraltar either. Although since the green list, I have been looking, as I've been looking at all the hotels, and Vanessa asked, have the museums opened yet since COVID? So kind of not sure whether that was to Costas or to Robin.
In Cyprus,
but both can answer.
Yeah, in Cyprus they are open, yes.
And most of the attractions are operating normally under the the existing conditions, where face mask has to be worn, and social distancing and various things.
Right.
But a lot of the attractions have opened.
Right. Robin, is Gibraltar accepting the NHS app as proof of vaccination?
No, but they're accepting
so you need to get the printed certificate.
The printed, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah. Turning, Angela's got a question. If visiting visiting Gibraltar as a side trip from Spain, what's the nearest town city to use as a base? And are the monkeys scary?
It all depends if you're afraid of monkeys. No, they're like
hostile.
I'm answering it in reverse order. They're like dogs. If you annoy a dog, then he'll bite you. So the monkeys are there. They're wild creatures, and if you social distance, then you'll be totally fine with them. But they are wild animals. But they are, they are used to, and they've all been inoculated and everything else. But cut long story short, I wouldn't poke one in the eye, because it might not be too happy with you doing that. And the nearest point from Spain already depends. I mean, Malaga's a couple of hours up the road. I don't know if that answers that one.
Algeciras is the nearest.
La Linea is the town that's literally just across our frontier, but there's no airport there. So the nearest airports that in Spain would be Malaga on the Spanish side.
Thank you. Costas, I had a question. You mentioned about combining destinations within Cyprus. How is it a popular island to do a fly drive? So you would deliberately book, I don't know, three nights in one place, 2 nights in another, 3 nights in another, or is it too small to justify doing that?
No, this is actually a good idea, because we also drive on the left side of the road in Cyprus. So, and the roads are not very busy at all. So it's a good idea to do a tour, even a 3-center holiday in Cyprus. I would recommend one center to be in the mountains, and perhaps one in Paphos and one in Limassol or Ayia, Napa.
I could tell earlier that you're a big fan of Troodos.
Of the mountains, yes.
So if someone were to do that, they could do, say, a week by a beach and then maybe another week touring around. Yeah, and they can stay in 2 or 3 different resorts in the mountains or elsewhere. In the winter, there is even some snow in the mountains, so somebody can actually ski in Troodos in the winter. I'd never know, considering the temperatures you were talking about earlier. Yeah, but wow, it's got to be high. It's 2,000 meters high, so it's quite high. Yeah. Going to be. Robin, I had a question about sort of length of stay. you know, there's obviously a lot more to do in Gibraltar than I might have imagined and thought, and a growing number of attractions. Typically, is Gibraltar regarded as a, I don't know, a short break destination, or, you know, what kind of length of stay would be right to ensure you don't miss anything?
Well, I mean, what we can go by is average durations, which is kind of telling about what people enjoy to do and the length of stay. And the average duration for our British visitors is about 5 nights.
Okay.
And so a good short break destination. You've got the frequency of the flights that lends itself to a good short break. It's like the best of both worlds. You've got like a city break with the shopping, the town and the attractions and everything that you can do there. But you've also got beaches. So because we were one of the few, we were the only green list Mediterranean destination up to recently. People were coming for longer stays, and they were coming with their families and taking advantage of the beaches, etc. But in usual circumstances, I would say a really good short break destination, and repeat as well. You've got, you know, the nice hotels, the restaurants, the cafes, and everything else, and of course the wonderful shopping, and blessed by the weather.
Yes, absolutely. I was thinking, Costas, about, you know, I think everyone's heard of the famous resorts in Cyprus, you know, and get a sense of what each of the cities and resorts are for. But I was wondering, with your knowledge, whether you had 1 or 2 hidden gems where people could go and get a real, you know, by the sea, but a real sense of Cyprus from I don't know, almost before the tourists, but less disturbed, but more peaceful.
Yeah, the region north of Paphos, which is the Polis Lachi area, which is okay. It could be quite busy during the peak months of let's say July and August, but if you're there in the autumn or the spring, it's not so crowded. And of course, between Paphos and Polis is the national park of Akamas, where the turtles hatch their eggs. And yeah, this is a very nice region. Further along, you have the Baths of Aphrodite, which are also in this area. And there is a lot of nature trails in this area that people can do that are by the sea, and at the same time see some of the you know, the nice nature there.
Oh, that's a great recommendation. Thank you. I have another question in chat, which is a question for both. So I'll start with Robin. Again, from this one's from Ali. For someone who's never visited the destination before, what's the one thing you absolutely have to do or experience on your first visit, Robin?
At the top of my head, it's something that would please absolutely everyone, is make your way to the top of the rock, have a cable car, walk up on the Mediterranean steps, and have one of their cocktails at the top of the rock, and enjoy the scenery. So that would be a must for me.
That sounds amazing, and you know, with the views as well.
Yeah,
absolutely incredible. And Costas, the same question to you. If you first time visitor, what have you one thing have you absolutely got to do?
Well, as I mentioned already, this Akamas Peninsula is quite interesting, and of course, I mentioned during the presentation the Curium, which is this amphitheater. If you can catch a performance there by, okay, if it's a local artist, okay, they might sing in Greek or I don't know, but there is also some international performances there. that one can watch. And it's a very nice setting because the sea is in the background, and it's normally very nice and serene. And then you hear the music and you see the landscape. Is pretty amazing.
You've both been selling your destinations extremely well, and we're feeling, I think, like everybody, that, oh my God, we've got to go. We've got to get away. I'm mindful of the time. In the absence of other questions, it's 8 o'clock. So I would like to thank Robin and Kostas for taking us through the presentation this evening, for giving us your insights and your experience of your destinations, and really inspiring us to, if we haven't visited, to visit soon, and if we have already been to your destination, to go back, because I think, you know, even the most frequent visitor would have found something new to inspire. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for everyone who's either watching the presentation this evening or that will watch the recording later, for learning about Gibraltar and Cyprus. And it leaves me to remind everyone that booking with charitable travel as a social enterprise is a way where we can help you with your holiday plans, to have the holiday that you yearned for through the pandemic, but at the same time help a charity with a donation equivalent to 5% of your holiday price. You know, and so, you know, that's for both Cyprus and Gibraltar is undoubtedly going to mean somewhere around at least a £50 donation to a charity that really, really needs it. And as we know, they've been suffering during the pandemic as well.